Okay, this is my manifesto. So, something I have explained to people who have reached out to ask me about it was that, I'm here in Nashville for a month so I can box. I can train as a boxer while I write my new play about a boxer who's also a sommelier. Or it's a play about a sommelier who's training to be a boxer. It's called Boxed Wine. BOXXXED because it's about boxing and wine, and it's oh so naughty. It used to be called JoJo, so if you see me throwing that name around, that's where that's from. So yeah, that's why I've been in Nashville. I have not left New York permanently. I will be returning this morning, actually, to get back at the grind. Oh, New York, how I have missed you. Homeless people here just feel so different than they do back in my home state. We gotta cut that one out of the video. So I wanted to briefly talk about the experience, and I wanted to open up about the way that I feel about the experience, because I think that it might be fun or interesting or enlightening in that horror and terror way that the artist process is for me, that you might find some camaraderie in. So this is my brief but hopefully somewhat thorough review or retrospective on what has occurred. I'd like to start by saying I am incredibly hard on myself. I always have been, and I do feel a little sad that I don't feel like I accomplished what I was hoping to accomplish, or things did not go the way that I necessarily thought they would. See, I had this fantasy in my mind that I was going to come here and I was going to train to box, and it was going to be super easy. And the reason why I'm training to box is to both be able to write boxing, write about it, but also perform this show. It's a solo show, and I want to do it. And I definitely thought that after a month, I would feel a lot more confident and be able to block and perform this show. And I don't think that that's true. I think that this is something that I have to continue to work on in reference to the boxing. The other thing about it that I wanted was to write the show to be a solo show. In previous drafts, when I wrote it, it was a show. It certainly was not a solo show, but I just didn't really understand that in a lot of ways. And so, sort of what I was hoping was that I would come here, I would be an amazing boxer, I would revise what was already a completed draft, and then I would come back to New York City and I would do the show for anyone on the street that would look at me, which is one way to do it. Now, what ended up happening was that I came here, I ended up making a new draft of Boxed Wine, and then I made a new draft of Boxed Wine, which I then made the current draft of Boxed Wine, which is still being finished. And I'm leaving Nashville at this point. And I trained for a month of boxing, and I definitely think that I'm strong, but I don't feel very confident or very sure of that work. So despite, coming here and, for a month and rewriting a show 3 times and training my ass off to be a boxer, I still can't help but feel this sense of imposter syndrome and disappointment and a little bit of failure that I did not complete what I had set out to do, which was to hopefully leave Nashville with a show that I could do. And that's not what happened. And like I said, I'm incredibly hard on myself in that, I wrote the show 3 times. Well, 2.5 times. I wrote the show 2.5 times. I completed an entirely separate script that I completed, I kind of completed 2 scripts. I finished a full draft of a brand new play called Hound while I was here, over 24 hours, just because, like, it flew out of me like Athena after breaking Zeus's skull open. And then I was also part of the Feb Lab, which, go see Rapture posting, premieres the 24th. And yet that doesn't feel like enough, because I did not complete the goal that I set to complete in coming here, And I think what also feels bad about it is this was just a very huge time investment and monetary investment as well, to be able to leave New York for a month to work on this, and to be leaving without something that feels like a symbol of this is what I did while I was away. Feels very like imposter syndrome, like no one is going to believe me about anything that I say I do. And I think that is not true, obviously. I think that the artistic process is a very special, interesting process in the way that it unfolds for everyone, and I have come to terms with that, especially in my writing and my artistic process. And I think a lot of people understand that as well. And, it's not like it's not like I have, what's the word? There's not really a lot of pressure. There's really not. The only pressure there is because I put it on myself, obviously, to perform at the caliber of a fucking demigod and be able to execute my crazy ideas in time frames that are maybe not realistic for humans. And so I'm trying to give myself some grace and have some peace about not, I guess, finishing the play that I set out to write. Things that I'm looking forward to, though, is I do think that this piece is going to be one of those kind of like all-star pieces that is going to just take time to finish. It might even be a lifelong piece. Boxing is going to be more of an integral part of my life going forward. And with that being said, I think kind of writing this play is going to be, and also like performing it as well, being able to do the show. I mean, the show, what I have asked myself to do is a physical feat. Like, this show will not be an easy show to do, in my opinion. And I think it's going to look very different depending on the budget that I'm able to work with. And I think especially when it's starting out. So I'm kind of coming to peace with that kind of good news, bad news. Like, yeah, I'm not leaving with a show, but I think that what I have is very special, and I think that it's gonna be a challenge, but that's sort of what makes it worth doing, for sure. There's a lot that I learned about how would I write about, how would I describe what I do as an artist, how would I apply for residencies going forward, having done this one, and how would I talk about my experience in my artistic process. I think I've learned a lot about all of that, all of the meta stuff of how I work and why I want to work, and what helps me work. And I think I'm able to talk about that a lot more, and also being able to compile the journals and everything that went into building this piece, in all of its stages, and everything I've learned, I think is also great for the document, great for the memoir. And yes, so I'm trying to keep all of the good news in mind, and not focus so much on the despair. Oh God, is there anything else I want to say? Well, I guess I'll talk a little bit about the show. So, just briefly about the show. So, like I said, the show is called Boxed Wine. It's about through the course of a title match and a wine examination, Jojo, our main character, examines his relationships, his relationship with sex, and his desire to be the best at 2 contradictory professions: a wine sommelier and a boxer. That is what the show is about. It is 12 scenes, 3 minutes each, with 1 minute breaks in between. Like I said, it's a solo show. There is boxing in the show. And it's it's called boxed wine because it's naughty. Triple X. There will probably be nudity, so all you fucking fanboys, okay, fire react emoji to my stories. Pre-sale tickets are going live. Check the link in the description. Okay, show up. Okay, show up. I'm trying to think, is there anything else I want to say? I felt really good to admit in a lot of ways. I think I'm a failure. Oh God, if only it were true. That would make this way more interesting.